Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Let me know if everything's okay with the sound and the image. And maybe in the chat you can put, yes, we can hear you, Bhante. There are a few people waiting in the other chat. Okay, let's see. In the other chat. I think I should be going directly from here to the YouTube, right? I'm not very sure. Let me see. Usually it goes straight from here to the, connects directly to the YouTube. Yeah, because I'm looking over at YouTube and I'm not seeing it being shown over on YouTube. Maybe, let me see if we're on Facebook. No. Let me see over here on Empty Cloud. Nothing either. Right here it says it's broadcasting. Yeah, to all of them. It says, yeah, Buddhist Insights, Empty Cloud. Yeah, it looks like it's already set up to go directly to all the accounts. Yeah, and if you know anyone else, please send them a message and let them know how to connect here. I don't know what's going on, why it's not showing up on YouTube right now. Because I looked at the settings and it says that everything's running the way it's supposed to be running. Oh, you're watching us on YouTube? Edward, can you just confirm that, yes, you are watching us on YouTube? Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, we're good to go then. All right, everyone. Okay. So today I want to practice, we're going to practice Anapanasati. Anapana is inhalation, exhalation. Sati is usually translated as mindfulness. So Anapanasati, as many of you know, is one of the many meditations that the Buddha gives us within the first step in the Satipatthana, which is Kayanupasana, observing the body. So I really want to focus on this body observation today when we're doing practicing Anapanasati. So I would like to invite you to, just continue on with your own Anapanasati meditation that you do, but with an emphasis on, being mindful of the entire body. Also on non-reactivity. So when we're sitting in meditation, we get many sensations like maybe an itch or some pressure or some pain or whatever, maybe a fly lands on our face, or I would like to invite you to practice non-reactivity, to find some stillness in your practice. Obviously, if something's like too much for you, then you're going to have to move. And then sometimes we move unconsciously, unknowingly. So if you do move, I don't want you to beat yourself up or try to hold something in because you're thinking like, oh, Bhante said not to move, so I shouldn't move. And I'm just going to, fight it out. Just try to find some peace, some calmness, doing your Anapanasati practice, breathing meditation practice, with an emphasis on observing the entire body, finding stillness, and non-reactivity. So I'm going to ring the bell 3 times. And then on the third ring, I would like you to start your Anapanasati practice. Okay, everyone, let's begin. So now that your mind is calm, body is relaxed, you can bless yourself with your calm mind by the great wisdom and compassion of the Supreme Buddha, truthfulness of his teachings, dhamma, noble qualities of his perfect disciples, Mahasangha. May you be well, happy, comfortable, and peaceful. Sabitio vivanjantu saberogo vinasatu mate bhavantuam Sukhi Digayuko Bhavam Bhavetu Sabbe Mangelan Rakantu Sabbe Devata Sabbe Buddha Nubhavena Sabbe Dhamma Nubhavena Sabbe Sangha Nubhavena Sada Soti Bhavantuti. Also, by the power of this meritorious action, may you be free from immature company, and may you always have good companions until you attain Nibbana. Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo satam samagemo hotu Yavenibbana patiya. Okay, good evening, everyone. Sorry for the internet problems. I was having some difficulties logging on, and then I think the live stream got interrupted for a few moments, so I'm sorry about that. If you were meditating, you probably didn't notice, but we did get disconnected for a moment there. Hello, everyone. Hello, Jens. Hello, everyone at Empty Cloud. Hola, Kevin. Ojalá que estés bien. Buenas noches. Buenas tardes. Buenos días. Guten Nacht. Guten Abend, or wherever you're from, wherever you're at. Good part of the day to you, or whatever time of the day it is. Okay. So before my Dhamma talk, I'd like to pay my respects to the Buddha. Namo tase bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhase. Namo tase bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhase. Namo tase bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhase. So on Wednesday nights, we do a similar thing here at this temple at Sarath Chandra Buddhist Center in North Hollywood, California. We don't live stream it. It's just like a Zoom group sutta study meditation. But at the end of it, one of the someone in the group shared an experience with us because they were all talking about, for some reason, we started talking about going to the dentist. I guess a lot of people they get anxious when they go to the dentist, or they're scared of going. And one gentleman shared about how he's always been scared of going to the dentist, and how he started telling himself, I am not this body. This body is not me, mine, myself, and that helped him. And then another gentleman shared that he thinks about the Buddha, and by thinking about the Buddha, he's able to deal with his aversion or anxiety that he has by going to the dentist. In my own personal experience, when it comes to bhavana or meditation, I think that at least in my experience, within the Western context, there isn't that much emphasis on like Buddha Nusati, right? Recollecting the Buddha. There's more emphasis on like what people, vipassana, samatha, and things like that, which are just, states, mental states, qualities of the mind. But people use them as, that's what they call their meditation, whatever they're practicing, right? We're stuck in this kind of dualistic perspective of practice. We've inherited it from the past. But I don't really see many Western people, developing saddha, conviction, trust, faith in the Buddha, and thinking about the Buddha, thinking about the Buddha's noble qualities, right? Like as when we pay our respect to the Buddha, itipiso bhagava araham samma sambuddho vijja charana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttero purisa dhamma sarati satta deva manusannam buddho bhagavati. But I do notice a very strong, practice on recollecting the noble qualities of the Buddha within the Sri Lankan community, which is, I'm in a Sri Lankan temple, but also within the Bangladeshi Buddhist community. A lot of saddha, a lot of focus on the Buddha. And, I kind of wanted to focus on this, this person that shared this, how they use the recollection of the Buddha during, when they go to the dentist, to avoid aversion and anxiety and sorrow, lamentation when they're there. I mean, he's new to Buddhism, right? This person was new. So it really surprised me that he took to this more saddha based uh, practice of meditation. Uh, so I wanted to share with you, there is some context uh, within the Dhammapada. So some of you are familiar with the Dhammapada. In the first and second verses of the Dhammapada, the Buddha talks about how mind is the forerunner of all states. Mind made are they. If one thinks with unwholesome thoughts or wholesome thoughts, then either suffering follows them or happiness follows them, depending if whether they think unwholesome or unwholesome thoughts. So in the second verse of the Dhammapada, you'll find a particular story. It's kind of like the Buddhist Scrooge, like it's a funny story. Um, so I wanted to share this with you just to show you how, like, some of the benefits of thinking about the Buddha, recollecting the noble qualities of the Buddha, and the cultivation of saddha. So in this story, there's a quite wealthy man, and he's very uptight. He's greedy. He's very cheap. He has a lot of money, and he has a son, but he never likes to spend any of his money on himself or on his son, and he always finds the most inexpensive way to do things. And he'll make things for his son, like he'll buy the materials and make it at home. And he amassed a lot of wealth by being so cheap. And he never let his son like do any meritorious activities like giving, right? Because he didn't want to give. He wanted to hoard all his money. So he never let his son practice generosity. He just kept him at home all the time. But one day, this Scrooge, his son got sick. And at first, he tried to give him whatever medicine or remedies he had at home. That didn't work. And when that didn't work, he went off to the streets and to the neighbors' houses asking for free medicine. Does anyone have some free medicine for him? And they gave him some medicine, whatever he could get. And he came back to the house and he gave it to his son. His son wasn't getting better. Then his son got really, really sick, and it was obvious that his son was deadly sick. So he finally took him to the doctor, paid for him to see a doctor, and the doctor said, it's too late now. If you would have came earlier, we could have solved this problem very easily, but you took too long. And there's nothing I can do for your son. Your son is going to pass away now. So during those times much like now, but I think more in those days, because they lived a more communal village life, the father knew that when people heard that his son was going to pass away, they would all want to come and visit him and pay their respects and say goodbye to him. And he knew that they were going to come into his house and they were going to see, all the wealth that he was hoarding. And they would blame him. If you have all this money, if you have all this wealth, why didn't you use it to bring your son to the doctor earlier or buy him medicine? And why were you begging on the streets for medicine? So he knew people would, they were going to, talk bad about him, and he was going to feel a lot of shame for it. So he decided to, set up a nice place in the front porch, like the veranda in front of the house, so people can come visit him outside. They could come visit his son outside, and they wouldn't come inside and see that he had all this money and then start blaming him why he didn't use the money to save his son. So after he placed his son out there, the following morning, as we know that the Buddha, every morning when he would come out of his morning meditation, he would search the world to see who he could help that day. That's why the Buddha is also known as Maha Karuniko, the most compassionate, the great compassionate one, great compassion. So the Buddha saw that there was a young boy who was about to pass away, and that he could do something for this boy, to help this young man out. And so he went walking into that village that morning, and the boy was so sick, very, very sick. He was on the verge of death already. And the Buddha passed by, and the boy wasn't even facing towards the road. He was facing towards the house. So he couldn't see the Buddha. And I don't think he could see very well at that time. His eyes must have been closed and he was about to die. But he felt the presence of the Buddha. And when he felt that presence of the Buddha, um, he took refuge. He took refuge in the Buddha. He had some sort of confidence that was established in the Buddha and this being. He could feel this super, remarkable being in his presence, and he took refuge in him. And then he passed away very soon after. So after this young man passed away, his father did all the burial rites and took him to the charnel ground where they take all the bodies in those days. And every day the father would come visit, his son's or his son where he put his son's body, and he would cry. Every day he would go there and he would cry and he would cry and he would cry. And one day, when he was crying, he heard the sound of a little boy crying. And he turned around and he saw a little boy crying, and he thought to himself, I couldn't save my son, but maybe there's something I can do for this boy. Maybe I can help this boy. Maybe I can change my ways now. And he asked this little boy, what's wrong? Why are you crying? And the little boy said, oh, it's because I really want this toy. I really, really want a toy. And that's why I'm crying. And the man thought to himself, I have a lot of wealth. I'm a very rich person. I can buy this boy a toy and he'll be happy. And that way I can make up for me, not spending money on my own son. So then he asked the boy, what kind of toy do you want? And the little boy said, well, you know what? I want like a bicycle. And the man thought to himself, bicycle, very easy to get? Yeah, of course, I can get you a bicycle. What kind of bicycle do you want? And the little boy said, well, I want a very special bicycle. I want one wheel to be the moon, and I want the other wheel to be the sun. And that's the bicycle that I want. The man got upset. He's like, you're such a foolish boy. You're such a dumb boy. How are you going to be crying over, this toy that you can't ever get? It's an impossible thing. How can you have a bicycle with the sun and the moon as the wheels? You're wasting your time. You're a foolish person. Why are you crying? But this boy was something else. He told the man, okay, yeah, maybe I'm a bit foolish, but why are you here? Why are you crying, sir? And the man said, well, my son passed away, so I'm here crying, because I wasn't really a good father. And the little boy said, well, let's see who's more foolish. You see, I want this toy. I want this bicycle with one wheel to be the sun and one the moon. I can see the sun. I can see the moon. It's possible, maybe, that I can have this toy. Because I can see these things. They're here. They're visible. But you, sir, you're crying over something that's not here, that doesn't exist. It is impossible for you to change whatever happened. You cannot see your son. He's gone. The man must have froze, right? What? Who is this little boy, right? So he told this little boy, you're right. I am a fool. There's no point to crying now. But let me ask you something, little boy. Who are you? What are you doing here? What are you doing in this charnel ground? And the little boy said, Father, it's me. It's your son. And then he transformed into a beautiful devata, a celestial being, a divine being, an angel, to keep it simple. And he said, I saw you crying every day. And I wanted to come down and tell you that everything's okay, that I was reborn in the Devaloka. I was reborn in the heavenly world. So there's no need for you to cry, no need for you to worry. I'm in a good place. So just please stop crying. And you already acknowledge your mistakes and you want to change your ways. So just go ahead and live your life that way. And everything will be fine. Okay, no need to cry anymore. The father said, okay, thank you very much. And he left and he went back into the town and he started telling everyone in the town, my son's an angel. He came down from heaven, and et cetera, et cetera. And everyone in town thought he was crazy. Like, they knew that he was going to the charnel ground every day crying over his son. So they thought he must have lost his mind. And they're like, there's no way. Like, you never let your son, do any charity, any meritorious actions. You always kept them in the house. Like, you were not a spiritual family. How would your son be born in heaven if he didn't have a chance to do anything to be reborn in heaven? So the man felt very bad, and then he related the story to one of his friends, and one of his friends told him, you know what? You should ask the Buddha. The Buddha is around, and if you ask the Buddha, then he'll be able to tell you if your son was reborn in the Deva Loka in heaven or not. So then the man went to the Buddha, and he paid his respects to the Buddha, and he offered to feed the Sangha that the next day. He invited the Buddha over for dana at his house. And then at that time is when he was going to ask the Buddha. So the following day, the Buddha and the monks went to this rich man's house, and they ate. After they ate, then and all the formalities that happen in those times, all the friends of the man were also there. So it was the man, all his friends that were making fun of him, who thought he was crazy, the Buddha and all the monks. And then the man asked the Buddha, the Scrooge, asked the Buddha, is it possible for someone to be reborn in heaven, if although they never did any meritorious actions or they weren't like a spiritual person? And the Buddha knew what he was talking about, right? Because the Buddha was the one who helped his son when his son was passing away. So the Buddha already knew what the man was asking about. And he said, yes, it is possible. And yes, your son was reborn as a deva. And he was reborn because in the last minutes of his life, he had a very serene, wholesome state of mind. And because of that clarity of mind, that wholesome mind, he was reborn in the Deva Loka. And then everyone, all the crowd, kind of like they got shocked, and they're like, oh, wow, it's true. He just didn't go like psychotic because of the loss of his son. He actually did see his son, and his son was reborn in heaven. So I wanted to share this story with you from the Dhammapada, the second verse of the Dhammapada, because here we can see, right, the recollecting of the Buddha, or having this faith in the Buddha, right, this confidence in the Buddha himself, does lead to good things, right? It might be something very mundane, like I told you about the gentleman in our sutta class who used it to deal with pain when he's at the dentist. Or it might be something as extravagant as this sutta, right, where that wholesome state of mind in his last moments led him to be reborn in the heavens. But I'd like to share some of my own experiences here. Also, sometimes I've had very uncomfortable dreams, or sometimes, it's not very often, but once in a while, maybe once a year or something, I'll get like sleep paralysis or something weird happens, right? And in those times when I'm either having like a bad dream or sleep paralysis or whatever, I think about either the Buddha, or I think about my teacher, the abbot of this temple, or I think about Arahant Sivali. And then when I think about these great beings, then at that time, whatever happening when I'm asleep, whether it's like a bad dream or sleep paralysis or whatever, it just completely goes away. I just feel like this relaxation of the body and just everything. And then I usually just wake up, and then I'm like, oh, okay. And that was just a dream, and I go back to sleep and no problem. So you can use these, this trust that you have in the Buddha, in the Dhamma, in the Sangha, to help you out in difficult situations. There's a lot of power to reflecting on the noble qualities of different levels of awakened beings, and even those who are working towards awakening. because that's a difficult thing to do. You might know a monk or someone, and maybe they're not at any level of awakening, but maybe they're working towards it, right? There's the 8 characters. No, 4 characters, 8 types of individuals. There's the stream mentor, the one working for stream mentoring. There's the once returner, the one working towards non-returning, once returning, the non-returner, the one working towards non-returning, and the arahant, the one working towards being an arahant. So those are the 8 individuals, which are, yeah. So even thinking about the person who's working towards stream entry can bring a lot of trust and confidence. There are those beings who are working towards awakening. There are those beings who are, perfecting their sila. There are those beings who are perfecting their samadhi. There are those beings who are perfecting their panya. And that also brings a lot of confidence. You can think of your kalyanamitas who are working with you on the way towards awakening also. And you can also take refuge with knowing that, my friends are also on the same path as me, and we're all heading towards there. So this, I think this is kind of like a practice that is not that well practiced or developed, especially within kind of like Western Theravada, Vipassana, insight circles. It's very powerful. One of the main practices that a monk should practice every day is the Chaturaraka, Buddha Nusati Metta Che Asubham Maranasati. Reflecting on the Buddha, reflecting on metta, reflecting on the impurities of the body or the non-beautiful aspects of the body, and reflecting on death. This is something a monk should do every day. So, I wanted to give this talk as some sort of to encourage you to explore this practice of really, really, taking refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, not as just something that we recite or that we accept or that we declare, but something that we're generating all the time, and something that we try to apply during difficult times. Sometimes something very tragic might be happening, or you might be experiencing a lot of pain, uncomfortableness, and sometimes breathing meditation is not going to work. It's difficult sometimes to do, and then sometimes maybe our metta meditation doesn't work, or whatever kind of meditation that we do. And in those times, if you like, you can try thinking about the Buddha, or think about whoever your teacher is, your meditation teacher. You can think about them, and that'll also bring you some calmness and benefits and some serenity to your mind. So yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to share with you today. This kind of more of a trust, faith, conviction-based practice. It's a very powerful practice, and I think that we should all incorporate it into our daily practices. I think it will bring much benefit to us. Okay, so now if you have any questions or comments about the story, or about how to practice, the meditation on the Buddha, or on some teacher, or the Dhamma or Sangha, you can put it in the chat, and I'll try to do my best to clarify and to answer your question. Bhante, this is Sud S. Bhante, is there a protective quality to Buddha Nusati? For example, any way of thinking about the Buddha jolts the situation in the right direction, or is it deluding oneself thinking that way? Anytime we're generating a wholesome state, that is a protective practice, because when there is when there's a wholesome state in the mind, there cannot be an unwholesome state in the mind, right? So as long as you're generating wholesome states, you're denying the opportunity for an unwholesome state to come in. So it's like filling a void, right? Like you have this space and you're filling it, and as long as it's filled, you're protecting it from other things that would come in if it was empty. So as long as you keep it filled, then it's protecting from something else taking its place. So in that sense, it's protective. That's the way I would think. That's the way I kind of think about it. Since the Buddha has fulfilled all the paramitas, do we get those blessings bestowed upon us while reflecting the Buddha Nusati? Uh, you know, at least from my understanding, when we're reflecting on the Buddha, we're not actually reflecting on like actual being. We're reflecting on their qualities. As I said earlier, like when we chant Buddha Vandana, like Itipiso Bhagava Araham Sama, all the some of the noble qualities of the Buddha, we're thinking about that, right? Like those good, wholesome qualities. And then that becomes like something that inspires us or invigorates us, right? And then gives us like some sort of strength or power to overcome what's ever happening when we think about these very wholesome states, and that it is possible for people like us and for beings to achieve those states, and that at some time there was beings who had completely perfected these states, right? So it's not really like we're like there's like some thing coming from the outside to bless you. It's more like seeing that there's a potential and then that bringing you joy from the inside, right? uh, so that's really the way I see it when we do Buddha Nusati, because it's not like we're praying to the Buddha to give us something, right? Like uh, the Buddha's gone, 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 way gone, uh, cannot be found by men or devas or gods now. Um, so there's no communication that can happen. So it's really just kind of like creating an motivation and tension and an attitude that's going to help us overcome whatever difficulty we're experiencing. Any other questions, comments? Oh, Kevin, does the Buddha list any specific qualities for those working towards stream entry? That is, not one who already has entered the stream. Is this just a lay practice? No, so working towards entering the stream is for everyone who's not a stream enterer. That includes, bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, upasakas, and upasikas, right? So like monastics and lay people are all should be working towards stream entry. There are many accounts of so many lay people. I would say hundreds, if not thousands, in the suttas of lay people who are stream enterers, uh, both men and women. So it's not something exclusive to monks and following the Eightfold Path. I mean, the Buddha has perfectly laid it out. The Eightfold Path is good for monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen. So by working on the Eightfold Path, you're already developing the qualities that you need for to enter the stream. If one Sud asks, if one diligent follows the path, is it true that he cannot die until he achieves stream entry? I don't remember. Nothing comes to mind right now. about that. But trying to figure out people's karma is like a very difficult thing to do. You'll go crazy, so, and we shouldn't worry about like speculative things like this. We should just practice, and whatever happens happens. I mean, that's my approach. uh, Not to set myself up for any kind of hope, any hopes of anything. And if something does happen, then anything that does happen is like a blessing. But yeah, I don't think comes to mind right now. Sorry about that. Oh, de nada, Amaranta Arcadia Castillo Gómez. Saludos. Bhante, it was nice to see you at Bhante Saranapala's monk chat for the monastic sangha. Oh yeah, I was happy to be there. You know, Bhante Saranapala and myself are from the same monastic lineage, and both were ordained at the same temple. I mean, him many years before me in Sri Lanka, but we were both from ordained in the same place, and we both learned a lot from Bhante Puniji. So it's nice, Bhante Saranapala is like my older Dhamma brother. So yeah, I'm happy to be there with all the other monastics and to be able to contribute whatever I can to the conversation. When you reflect on the Buddha, what do you typically think on his qualities, a statue, or pairing, or drawing? So when I think about the Buddha, I usually think about awakening. Like freedom from suffering, and I usually focus on like that. That aspect of freedom, liberation, and sometimes when I think about the Buddha, obviously an image will come to mind, but it's not like I'm trying to create an image of the Buddha or I'm focusing on the image. But that's just the way most of us think, right? Like if I say dog, like image of a dog's probably going to come to your mind, right? So it might be something that happens, but it's not the focus of my reflection. Is more thinking about how great the Buddha was. Actually, I think that's what it is, like how great of a being the Buddha was. And then that brings me comfort. Bhante Janakie Balasuria. Bhante, is it nice of you to have given that example of Mata Kundali's story as a bicycle? Do they have a bicycle those days? I mean, that's what it says in English. I'm sure like there wasn't bicycles. It was like a little toy, actually. He wasn't going to ride it. So it was like a little toy like this. So it could have been a bike, but it wasn't like a bicycle that someone could ride. It was like a two-wheeled toy. Gita Gana, yes, Bhante Puniji was at Toronto Mahavihara in the 1970s and early 90s. I listened to his teachings, he's extremely skilled. Yeah, so actually, Bhante Puniji is one of the three main reasons why I became a monk. He gave a talk, and once he gave a talk, I decided I wanted to become a monk. And I've always, he's been my main influence, the most influential monk in my practice to this day. Okay. I have time for another question. I mean, usually I think we end right at 5:30, but since I started late, I wanted to give you some more time to make up for the technical problems in the beginning and during the meditation. But if there's no other questions or comments, that'll be it for today. So I think I'm going to be joining all of you once a month. I think that's what I think that's what we agreed upon for me. So hopefully I'll get to see you next month, or maybe I'll see you sooner. But until then, may you be well, may you be comfortable, may you be peaceful, may you be free from worries, may you be free from pain, may you be free from ill will. I wish you all the best. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, and be kind to everyone around you. Sukihotu, may you be well. See you next time.